So I'm just going to go ahead and read the article. And if people jump in, then they'll enjoy it. And people will probably enjoy the recording. So, okay. I'm going to try and be somewhat entertaining in my dramatic reading, I guess you could say, of my article. The headline is Trump labels Carlson a quote low IQ person, end quote, after criticism on Iran. Says, quote, I don't respond to his calls, end quote. This was just published 3:43 p.m. It says Algemeiner. I guess that would be Eastern time. I'm on Pacific here in California, Yucca Valley. Okay. President Donald Trump on Tuesday lambasted far right podcaster Tucker Carlson, one of his longtime supporters turned outspoken critic, as the U.S. Israeli war against the Islamic regime in Iran continued to fragment online discourse among right wing influencers. Quote, Tucker's a low IQ person that has absolutely no idea what's going on, end quote, Trump said in an interview with New York Post national security reporter Caitlin Dornbos when asked about Carlson's condemnations of his Easter message promising massive destruction on Iran. Massive destruction. Which is pretty cool, isn't it? Quote, he calls me all the time. I don't respond to his calls. I don't deal with him, Trump said of Carlson. Quote, I like dealing with smart people, not fools. End quote. On Monday, in his continued efforts to frame himself as a devout defender of Christian faith, Carlson released a more than 2 hour long podcast on X and YouTube, announcing it by saying that, quote, desecrating Easter was the first step toward nuclear war. Christians need to understand where Trump is taking us. End quote. Carlson took issue in part with Trump's social media post the prior day, Easter Sunday, issuing a warning to the Iranian regime. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. End quote. Trump posted, referring to the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for global shipping that Iran has effectively closed amid conflict with the U.S. and Israel. In addition to attacking the president, Carlson criticized multiple faith traditions and Christian Zionist religious figures, including White House senior advisor Paula White and Franklin Graham, CEO of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, and of Samaritan's Purse. Carlson also maligned the megachurch movement and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints. He has previously called Christian Zionism a heresy and said that he disliked its proponents, quote, more than anybody, end quote, remarks for which he offered an apology. Offered an apology. He's always just speaking out of turn, supposedly. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Ava, thank you for joining us. Just in time. I was reading my article, and I'm just a few paragraphs in. So, just to summarize, you probably already know that this is in response to um, Trump's Easter Sunday remarks, where he threatened Power Plant Day, Bridge Day, demanding open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards. So, in response to this, in response to Tucker Carlson calling out Trump, I'm writing the article that Trump had referred to Tucker as a low IQ person that has absolutely no idea what's going on. Yale, thanks for joining us. Glad that we're getting some more people. Though I was appreciating just hanging out with Sharon here, but more the better. So everybody knows this disgusting quote that Trump said. So um, I note that this podcast that Tucker Carlson put out on Monday, he went after the Christian Zionists as he likes to do, one of his favorite targets, one of his main areas of focus. So I'll continue my article now. Carlson's 40-minute opening monologue framed his opposition to Trump in theological terms, asserting that Christians should have opposed the president's effort to seize Venezuela's oil, saying, "That's not acceptable for Christians. In fact, that's unacceptable for Americans or any civilized people because taking other people's stuff by force cannot be allowed." End quote. Carlson called Trump's decision wrong, quote, under the American legal code, but it's also wrong under the Christian legal code. Gonna get some more visual in here. There we go. Little road runners. I'm sorry, I'll get back into it. I don't mean to interrupt. Carlson also argued that during Trump's inauguration, he didn't take the oath of office with his hand on the Bible. Quote, that should have been maybe a clue that we need to pause and think about, end quote, the online media personality added, claiming it, quote, became clear that maybe he, Trump, didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And what's inside that book are limits on human behavior. That's true. This has gone with me since I was a child. Limits on human behavior. Carlson condemned Trump's Truth Social posting on Sunday, calling his words, quote, maybe the most real thing this president has ever done, and also the most revealing on every level. It is vile on every level, end quote. On Sunday, former U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Georgia, also used religious rhetoric to reject Trump's use of the phrase, praise be to Allah, which appeared to be in jest. Quote, everyone in his administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness, end quote. Green wrote on X in a post that has since received over 9.6 million views. Quote, I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane, and all of you are complicit. I'm not defending Iran, but let's be honest about all of this. I feel like I should eventually, if I'm going to keep reading these and talking about these people, I should get like some sort of accent going on of how they actually talk. Mm, it's great. Green then referenced the Strait of Hormuz, arguing it's closed, quote, because the US and Israel started the unprovoked war against Iran based on the same nuclear lies they've been telling for decades, that any moment Iran would develop a nuclear weapon. You know who has nuclear weapons? Israel. They are more than capable of defending themselves without the US having to fight their wars, kill innocent people and children, and pay for it. End quote. Returning to religion, Green wrote, quote, our president is not a Christian, and his words and actions should not be supported by Christians. Christians in the administration should be pursuing peace. On Tuesday, Green called for members of the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to remove Trump from power following his threat that, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back, end quote. Update. I think from what I saw, Trump has accepted a 2-week delay on destroying civilization. So, um, wonderful. Aren't we all? Far right conspiracy theorist Alex Jones has also advocated Trump's removal, asking a guest on his Monday InfoWars podcast, quote, "How do we 25th Amendment his ass?" I really should get an Alex Jones. How do we 25th Amendment his ass? I need more practice. I haven't listened to him enough. On March 31st, Jones said that Trump, quote, does look sick. The brain's rotting, not doing too hot. And so we just cut bait on Trump and we just mobilize against the Democrats. Other influential far right media figures who previously spent years boosting Trump have also now called for his removal. On Tuesday, in response to the same Trump threat, far right podcaster Candace Owens wrote that, quote, the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He is a genocidal lunatic. Our Congress and military need to intervene. We are beyond madness. End quote. The 25th Amendment states that if key government leaders determine that the president is, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, end quote, then the vice president shall, quote, shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. I will just note that Sally and I wrote a piece last fall saying it was 25th Amendment time. I forget which even thing it was. It was like, well, it's time now. And you see, it was another like, oh, he's saying totally crazy things. But so ahead of the curve. On Tuesday, conservative radio host Mark Levin labeled those calling for the 25th Amendment's use as, quote, this is the first time I've heard him say this, the woke Reich neo-fascists. Woke Reich neo-fascists. I think this is a moment. I was quite shocked by this, honestly. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna. This is notable. I'm gonna write this down. Write this down for the record. It has to be emphasized. I mean, I've got the whiteboard here, so I can emphasize things from this. That Mark Levin. What has he said? So, Mark. No, I want to get this. This is looking right. And most of you should know who Mark Levin is, right? He's one of the leading. I'll still call him a conservative. Mark Levin. He has a nickname. Fail. Mark Levin. His nickname is the Great One. That's what they call him, the Great One. In this statement, woke right neo-fascists is what he's calling. It's amazing. Okay, he's calling now people that used to be his allies neo-fascists. So he's referring to which I wrote about recently is that a lot of people on the right are fascists, and so he's calling Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene woke Reich neo-fascist. So he's making the Nazi comparison now. He's okay. I mean that's just um, worth emphasizing. Owens had reposted Carlson's podcast condemning Trump. On Sunday, in response to Trump's post, Owens wrote on X in a post seen by at least 3.8 million people that, quote, "This is a satanic administration. We all realize that satanic Zionists occupy the White House and Congress needs to move to have the Mad King Trump removed," end quote. She added, quote, "All of our lives may depend upon other countries realizing that Trump is deeply unwell and surrounded by religious fanatics who have convinced him that he is a messiah. We are in uncharted territory. Leaders worldwide need to act accordingly." End quote. On Tuesday, Owens accused Trump of involvement in the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Resharing an X posting by Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian asserting his willingness to die in defense of the Islamic regime, Owens wrote, quote, "The Iranian president tweets that he is willing to sacrifice his own life for his people. Donald Trump was willing to sacrifice Charlie Kirk and is willing to sacrifice every American life and livelihood for greater Israel. Who is the animal again?" End quote. I think that's a new thing too, by the way. I'm going to write that. I'm going to note that also for the record here. That that's worth keeping in mind. That Donald Trump was willing to sacrifice Charlie Kirk. Okay. Wow. Donald Trump was willing to sacrifice Charlie Kirk. We've come a long way. We've come quite a long way, haven't we? I'll continue. Joe Kent, the former director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center and a conspiracy theorist ally of Owens, wrote on Tuesday in response to Trump's threats of civilizational eradication that the president, quote, "believes he is threatening Iran with destruction, but it is America that now stands in danger. If he attempts to eradicate Iranian civilization, the United States will no longer be viewed as a stabilizing force in the world, but as an agent of chaos, effectively ending our status as the world's greatest superpower." End quote. Kent reposted Carlson's podcast too and came under fire from CNN's Jake Tapper for also sharing Iranian propaganda, falsely suggesting that the United States intentionally sought to kill its own downed pilot rather than rescue him. Ann Coulter, the right wing polemicist who authored 2016's In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, who has also turned against the president, writing on Tuesday that, quote, "Trump is going to set off the wildest rush for nuclear weapons the world has ever seen. Should go well," end quote. Coulter wrote in response to Trump's Sunday message, "I really wish," quote, this is the big thing from her. "I really wish legal experts," she puts in quotes, "hadn't screamed bloody murder about every little thing Trump did so they could speak with authority now that he's actually committing war crimes." that he's actually committing war crimes. It's quite a big deal. And I will just remind here, I've got a number of her books. This is my favorite of hers. Good old Anne. This is from, what, 2012 or so? 2011. My year of pivoting from front page mag to pajamas media. But yeah, this was my favorite of hers. I stopped being a fan of hers after I read Adios America, because that's a racist book for all sorts of reasons. To continue, anti Semitic podcaster Nick Fuentes has also jumped on board the anti Trump bandwagon. Quote, I've been saying this for the past couple of days. You have to understand that all Trump does is lie. It's by design. This is the function of rhetoric from the White House, Fuentes said on April 1st on his Rumble show. You know, groundbreaking analysis from the leading Gen Z right wing commentator of the day. Quote, but that's the Trump doctrine, which is you flood the zone, you saturate the information space with disinformation or contradictory information, and the purpose of it is to throw your enemies and even your allies off balance, end quote. Fuentes added, quote, we are stuck. We made an attempt to destroy the Iranian regime, and we failed. We took a shot, and we missed. And what this has allowed Iran to do is seize the Strait of Hormuz and take a fifth of the world's energy hostage. And we have no ability to take it back. Because the regime survived, it is now actually stronger. So it's not going anywhere. And what's more, Iran prepared for exactly this scenario. See, this is Nick Fuentes' little trick, is that he will often come in and try and present reasonable points and say things that people will agree with on this or that. And then those points will get clipped and shared. There was an article about this, talking about his clippers that will go through his shows and clip out this. So you'll have a little thing that may appear to appeal to women, or a thing that will appeal to men, or a thing that's, shocking. So he presents himself differently to different audiences is the thing, and that's what's happening here, is that with this quote that I had to use uh, to show that this person that was key pusher for Trump for years has turned on him. This pattern among the far right. So Fuentes' so-called Groyper movement promotes anti-Semitism, racism, rape, and support for Hamas. Proponents seek to infiltrate the Republican Party and subvert it from within, a tactic Fuentes has instructed. Conservative journalist Rod Dreher reported in the Free Press that his sources have told him that approximately 30 to 40% of Gen Z Republican staffers sympathized with Groyperism. While initial polling showed firm Republican support for Trump and Israel's efforts to crush the Islamic regime in Iran, new research indicates diminished enthusiasm. A poll from YouGov and The Economist released on March 31st showed that while 62% of Republicans supported the conflict, that figure divided between pro-MAGA Republicans, 79%, and non-MAGA Republicans, 33%. I didn't know there were still Republicans that consider themselves non-MAGA. Whatever, 33%. Self-proclaimed MAGA Republicans comprise roughly twice the number of non-MAGA Republicans. Okay. In my view, if you're voting Republican, you're MAGA. If you're supporting Trump, you're MAGA. But if I guess some people don't want to identify with it, so fine, we'll give them that out. Polling also shows that a majority of younger Republicans, a cohort more heavily influenced by Owens and Fuentes, now reject the war, with only 49% supporting Trump's actions. Tuesday wasn't the first time that Trump blasted Carlson. Quote, Tucker has lost his way, end quote, the president told ABC's Jonathan Karl last month. Quote, MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. It's like as soon as, you know, he's so brilliant and smart and such an important person, and then all of a sudden he disagrees and his IQ drops, you know, however many points, whatever. Tuesday wasn't the first. I mean, where was it? Okay. Okay. So my conclusion here. Carlson told Status News editor Oliver Darcy that, quote, there are times I get annoyed with Trump, right now definitely included, but I'll always love him no matter what he says about me. And as silly as the thing that seemingly is, that is the Christian position. So Tucker claiming to be the true Christian here, wanting to arbiter, whether Christian Zionism is doctrine or not. I gave him the last word here. So Mark Levin, the great one, woke right neo-fascists, referring to Candace Owens. Candace Owens, who says that Trump was apparently in on the conspiracy to kill her dear friend. Um, and Carlson says, I'll always love him. It's like a woman in a country song, isn't it? No, I won't imitate a country song for you. I would if I had the abilities. I'll always love him, no matter what he says about me. And I want to end with that because that actually is the as wrong as Tucker Carlson is on so many things, that is the correct attitude to have. We're supposed to love each other. These were so popular when I was a teenager. I think I need to get a new one. Use that as a bookmark now. We're supposed to love each other. Even Trump, even as he's doing terrible things and so many people die and so many people are suffering right now, we we can't lapse into hating him. We can't obsess over him. And we can't obsess over these people. It's my job to. I've made it work this year that's something that I'm going to focus on. That I have to cover these people because it's funny and ironic in a way, that I'm covering um, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene regularly because I'm on the anti-Semitism beat and they regularly say anti-Semitic things. But as you can hear, in this article, they're not wrong all the time. You know, they're saying 25th Amendment now, and I was saying it last year. We're all sinners. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Wisdom. What is wisdom and where do we get it? Um, I had a little, I get into little arguments on Substack notes. Maybe some of you have noticed. It's a bad habit, or it's content farming, or I justify it in all sorts of ways. But this wisdom question. Job. Job and Ecclesiastes are, in some ways, the heart of the Bible. It's in the middle. And it's suffering. That's how we get wisdom, is through pain and suffering and war and trauma. That's why, and people get upset about the book of Job, and they think, and they don't understand it, and they don't realize that it's happening all the time, including to us. We are all the characters in the Bible. We just have to figure out which one am I at any given time, and which story is going on at any particular time. But the suffering is the regular one. And it's through that suffering that we come to understand things. And if we don't suffer, we're not going to. It doesn't matter how many books you go through, how many books you read, how much you learn. It's only once you experience the real pain of these things that you really understand it. Okay, I think that's enough for now. This has been a fun one. Um, I've set up a new little studio space so it's not just going to be now me like down on the desk. I've got a map and some other whiteboards up, and I may even get in front of the camera. I've set up a chair, so I'm going to try it. So you can all look forward to that and let me know what works, what you think, what you'd like more of, um, what doesn't work. So thank you, everyone. I'll just remind you again of our book titles to please check out. We've got John Bishop's poetry collection. We'll be announcing some of our new poetry plans soon. Fun stuff coming. Perdition, the Other Blue Planet by Alec J. Ott, our debut title from Heroes of the Desert, our line of science fiction and fantasy books. We're going to be relaunching Heroes of the Desert soon. Got some exciting plans for that. Secret of Fatima. This is our big hit so far. We're actually making money on this one, as I knew we would, because it did well when it was previously published. So it's a wonderful mystery story with the priest action hero. Check it out. And then our newest title, Miranda's War by Howard Foster. That was another one that Liberty Island originally released, but as with Secret of Fatima, it's been heavily re-edited and revised by the authors and my wonderful wife, Sally. Man, they went through and re-edited these. I mean, these books are transformed. So this new edition of Miranda's War, totally new book in many ways. um, and it's out in ebook right now, and we'll be getting the paperback out hopefully this next few months, this fall. I'm not sure yet when our distributor's planning for it. I'll let you know as soon as we have a date. But looking forward to holding that in my hands too. That'll be our first literary novel coming out. So, okay, everyone, thank you so much. Appreciate you. This has been David Michael Swindle, your CEO, publisher for God of the Desert Digital Media Studios, and I'll have more content for you soon. Everybody, take care. Bye.